Welcome to datascience.show, the podcast where data science meets executive leadership. We talk with top AI and analytics thought leaders about turning data into real business impact. If you're a C-level leader or data expert shaping the future, you're in the right place.
I'm your host, Mirko Peters. We explore how data science and AI drive real business impact, straight from the leaders making it happen. Today, we're tackling a tough but necessary topic, governing continual learning, how models that learn in production change the game, and what leaders must do to unlock value without creating new liabilities. Over the next 20 minutes, I lay out a tight executive playbook, definitions you can use in boardroom conversations, a risk taxonomy you must track, operational controls that protect customers and brand, and decision criteria to prioritize where continual learning actually pays off.
Let's set expectations up front. This is not a deep MLOps tutorial. It's a leadership briefing aimed at CEOs, CTOs, chief data officers, heads of analytics, and senior ML engineering leaders, the people who decide budget, risk appetite, and organizational ownership. I'll summarize the practitioner landscape you need to align. Product teams wanting live personalization, compliance and risk teams worried about exposure, and ML engineers running streaming pipelines that can update models in hours or minutes. Each of these stakeholders has different incentives and constraints, and governance bridges them.
Consider 3 representative profiles you'll hear from in the organization. First, product managers who see continual learning as a lever for engagement. Think recommendations that adapt to hourly trends. Second, risk and compliance owners who see continuous updates as a potential audit and legal exposure. Third, ML engineers who worry about stability, data lineage, and rollback. Your job as an executive is to translate those perspectives into a single accountable lifecycle and a clear decision framework. Now, the core definitions, so we're speaking the same language. Batch retrain is periodic. You gather labeled data and retrain on a cadence, weekly or monthly. Incremental training applies updates to parts of a model between full retrains. Online learning updates model parameters as new examples arrive in near real time. Human in the loop means human decisions or labels control or validate updates before they're applied. Each mode trades off accuracy, latency, cost, and control differently. If you promise adaptivity, you accept some reduction in control unless you invest in compensating governance.
So how do you choose? Start from business outcome, not from engineering novelty. Use 3 executive filters: materiality, observability, and reversibility. Materiality. Will continual updates materially improve key business metrics like revenue per user, fraud detection rate, or cost to serve? Observability. Can you measure and decompose model behavior in production tied to business SLOs? Reversibility. Can you detect degradations quickly and roll back reliably? If the answer is yes to all 3, continual learning is worth strong consideration.
Let me give concrete use cases where continual learning created measurable value. In one retail personalization example, online updates to ranking models lifted conversion by several percentage points because the model surfaced trending items within hours. In fraud detection, incremental learning reduced false positives by adapting to new attacker behavior within the day. And in dynamic pricing, online fine-tuning allowed better inventory clearance during peak demand windows. Each success, however, required strict controls, shadow testing, canaries, and business SLOs instrumented end-to-end.
That leads us to the operational control set executives need to mandate. First, deployment gates with risk tiers. Low-risk models can auto-promote. High-risk models require human sign-off. Second, shadow runs and canary traffic. Always test new behavior in production traffic without impacting users before full promotion. Third, observability that maps to business SLOs, not just technical metrics. Track business KPIs, calibration, class-wise performance, and distributional shifts. Fourth, immutable audit trails, model and data versioning, deployment metadata, and provenance for every update. Finally, automated rollback thresholds with enforced human review on repeated failures.
Dive deeper on observability. Prioritize signals that tie back to customers and revenue. Conversion lift, average order value, fraud false positive rate, complaint volume, and error rates for critical flows. Supplement with model-level signals, confidence distributions, drift detectors, and fairness metrics segmented by protected groups or business-relevant cohorts. And instrument provenance, which data triggered an update, which code and config were used, and when a human approved promotion. Those links create the context auditors and regulators will ask for.
Organizationally, continual learning forces an ownership decision. You need a clear RACI for the lifecycle. Who owns data collection and labeling? Who owns model validation? Who approves production promotion? And who owns incident response? Create cross-functional SLAs between product, risk, and engineering. For high-risk classes, establish a governance committee that meets regularly to review updates, incidents, and audit artifacts. Funding should reflect ongoing operating expenses. Continual learning is not a one-time project. Budget it as a sustained capability.
Executives need simple decision templates. I recommend a 2-page memo for each model that answers what outcomes the model influences, materiality score, risk classification, observability plan, rollback criteria, and owner sign-offs. Use that memo to gate any move from batch retrain to online updates. Pair the memo with a checklist. 1. Business SLOs instrumented. 2. Shadow testing passed. 3. Canary thresholds defined. 4. Audit trail enabled. And 5. Human approval path for failures. If any item is missing, delay live continual updates.
Now the tougher part. Risk taxonomy and real mitigations. The main risks are feedback loops that amplify bias, data drift leading to silent degradation, operational instability from unchecked updates, and regulatory exposure from undocumented changes. Mitigations are straightforward but non-trivial. Enforce human-in-the-loop for high-risk segments, run shadow models for long enough to validate behavior across edge cases, instrument bias detectors and cohort performance monitors, and keep immutable logs for every training artifact. Don't treat governance as bureaucracy. Treat it as insurance against fast-moving liabilities.
Looking ahead, what should leaders prepare for in the next 12 to 24 months? Expect regulators and auditors to ask for stronger traceability and explanations for model updates. Vendors will offer more turnkey continual learning platforms, but weigh vendor lock-in and traceability trade-offs carefully. Invest in core capabilities, robust observability, data and model lineage, and a culture of measured experiments. Start with a controlled pilot on a material low to medium risk use case. Instrument everything and document results. Scale only when the controls prove they protect value and reduce risk.
Before we close, here are 2 immediate actionable items you can implement this week. 1. Adopt a model update decision checklist as a mandatory gating artifact for any continual learning initiative. 2. Require business SLO-linked observability for all models considered for online updates and enforce canary deployments with automatic rollback thresholds. These 2 moves dramatically reduce blind spots and give you a defensible position in audits and executive reviews. Final reflection: continual learning unlocks adaptiveness and clear business upside, but it changes the rules of operational control. Implement it without governance, and you trade short-term gains for long-term risk. Implement it thoughtfully, and you turn continuous adaptation into sustained advantage. That's the difference between models and value. If you found this briefing useful, subscribe to datascience.show and share this episode with your leadership team. And let's connect on LinkedIn. I'm Mirko Peters. We'll be back with more conversations on how data science and AI create real business impact. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to datascience.show. If you found value in this episode, subscribe, share it with your network, and join us next time as we explore how data science drives smarter decisions and better business outcomes.